is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Here. It is week number 12 here on Racesport TV, Friday at prime time, live on the iRacing Esports Network. It's the final race of the season for the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship, and what better place to get it over and done with than at Autodromo Nazionale Monza. Join us for a fantastic race after these messages. Hello everyone and welcome back to the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship on Racesport TV, Friday primetime. I am Connery Maddock. Joining me in the commentary booth as ever for these Friday prime times, it is going to be Stephen Burbidge. Hugo Luis going to be the man behind the cameras as well. And like I said during my intro, what better place to get a season over and done with than one of the most historic tracks in the world, one of the most historic tracks on the iRacing service as well. It's the Italian juggernaut of Monza. Those are the weather graphics up on your screen right now. Clear skies, 27 degrees in the air, 31 degrees track temperature. We are getting pretty late on in the evening here in terms of the skybox. 6-mile-an-hour winds there, as they won't have to contend too much with the gusts coming down into any of these corners. But as qualifying ticks over and gets itself done, Stephen, what are your expectations for this race?
Well, you know, there's a lot of things I've been thinking about, and the biggest thing is whether or not drivers can kind of cool their heels at the start. I mean, we saw things go disastrous for a few drivers at Sebring last week, and see if the drivers can learn from those mistakes and improve on it this round.
You have the prototype standings up on your screen for you right now. Johan Haaf and Eric Andre both not attending, so I don't think there's much going to be changing in terms of that one. So Johan Haaf potentially being a champion when all is said and done. But the thing is, we do have Kim Salverson in the race here, down in P number 5. So we got David Haynes as well in P number 9. So they look to move up a good couple of positions here in this one as we get those standings moved over. GTE's Thibaut Azubon leading the way, and he's in this race as well. Benjamin Gonzalez having some issues last time out, but Joao Caroni, P number 3, they're also challenging as we get things down to your GT3 standings. That will be fantastic. So you have qualifying to go over as well. Soren Kolodji there. We've got CM Skinner, Kyle Dunlop, top 3. Wim Stockmans with Bertoni. We've got Squares as well further down with Alan McCain. Shafranka further back as well with Dave Cameron, number 9. So that is what the standings are going to look like. But talking of standings, here is your qualifying for this final race here at Monza. In prototypes, it is going to be Kim Salverson taking pole position with James King lining up on the front row with him, with David Haynes and Joseph Ringrose comprising of row number 2. Then row number 3, only 6 Daytona prototypes in this one. It's Alex Coffard and Joseph Satchel. And then you look to the top of a certain GTE field, and then you find a name that many people will recognize. Lando Norris, McLaren F1 driver, pole position in GTEs with Antiola P number 2. We got Agancio and Kazubon, consisting of 3 and 4 as well. Further back on the grid, Vincenzo Silvestri, P number 5. We got Timo Vatti there, P number 6. Josh Thompson there for Radicals Online, P number 7, with Andre Martins further back in P number 8. As we go back, Azredo there, Hugo Preto there, P number 10. That's a blast from the past as well. We've got Patrick Hirsch and Casey Kirwan. So Kirwan, sort of more represented on the NASCAR racing side of things, deciding to give these GTE machines a go. With Michael Evdoka, Joel Guez, we've got Carlos Alvarez-Bendy and Lucas Kriz bringing things down to P number 16. Calvin Foydrant, Mark Fletcher and Anthony Catt will round out your 19-car GTE field. And GT3s looks a little bit like this. Tim Classens taking pole position with Yao Oliveira, CM Skinner and Lawrence Cantor bringing things down to P number 4. We've got Baumgart, we've got Wallstrom as well there, bringing things down to P number 6. Dennis Neidhart, P number 7. Kolodjets there, P number 8. When all is said and done in GT3s, we've got Alan McCain, we've got Carlos Campanella Sares, we've got Alexis Diaz and Tom Metherell down in P number 12. Phil Bedford will line up in P number 13 with Yabing Wan there, P number 14 with Bertrand Fournet in P number 15 with no time set. You'll have to start right at the back of the grid. Only a short while now before we get racing here for the final round of the season in the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship. You can see the GT3 field, just head their way through the Ascari chicane before the attention turns towards the front of the field. Only 5 Daytona prototypes going to be taking the race start here today. But that doesn't mean there's going to be a lack of action in this one. Monza always plays host to some fantastic racing here in the real world and on the iRacing service as well. But Kim Salverson, he'll get the go, and we're going to go green flag racing for the final time this season as the cars will storm themselves down the pit straight, down towards turn number 1. Everyone filing in line. David Haynes will challenge P number 2, coming down in towards turn number 1 for the first time. You can see in the background, there's your GTE race up, a battle for P number 2 in prototypes. Then David Haynes versus James King coming through the Red Tefilio chicane. They'll still be side by side off the corner, but looking back towards GTEs though. Challenge for P number 4, Silvestri defending from Kazubon as they got to be careful getting themselves stacked up through here. This couldn't be a big incident. There's already almost been a big incident there as Andre Martins goes for a slide through the Red Tefilio, but all of the GTEs survive the first chicane. As we look back to GT3s, Tim Classens leading the way. Oliveira, P number 2. CM Skinner will look around the outside for P number 2, but he'll have to settle for P number 3. We've got side by side further back. We've got a car taking the escape road as well. That's Alexis Diaz. He'll have to take a slow down penalty, but 3 wide further back as he tries to get that penalty served. As it's 2 by 2 further ahead then in that GT3 field. Diaz has to be working from behind through the rest of this race now to get himself a good finish when all is said and done. Here's the front of your GTE field. Lando Norris still leading the way with Antiola and then Gancio in tow as well. Very clean start, and a surprisingly clean start last season.
It was a great clean start, and really see how everybody kind of took a step back, said, hey, wait a minute, this is the finale, points are on the line, championship's on the line, let's not bend it up in the first couple corners. The one thing I think is really interesting this round is we see again the 4 GTs lining up the GTE first 5 spots.
GTEs, well, the Ford GTEs particularly strong at this track with the straight line speed advantage, or the slight straight line speed advantage that it has. But coming out of the final corner then come these, well, primarily Ford GTs at the front of this GTE field. Antiola will get the tow from Lando Norris down in towards turn number 1, but I think this is going to be the start of the theme, Stephen, with on lap number 2, they are already starting to think about the strategy in terms of the fuel and getting the jump in the pit stops.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen pit strategy kind of work in favor and work against the last few rounds, and it's been very crucial for a lot of these classes, especially up at the podium. So I'm curious to see who's going to stay out, who's going to save fuel. Ooh, and David Haynes is running into issues.
Ooh, David Haynes has run into a couple of issues as I'm trying to look. Oh, he is. He's off the track as well once again. So what has happened to David Haynes here? There does seem to be a little bit of damage to his front clip. Was it contact with the car of James King? I'll just have to wonder. We'll have to get the replay up on screen for you now. You can see that front clip's already damaged as he heads his way. Ooh, he goes a little bit heavy over onto the curb there. We'll have to wind this one further back. Okay, this is going to be the defensive weaving down in towards turn number 1. Rounding on board then with the car of Dave Haynes down in towards turn number 1. Let's see exactly what happens here. Don't think it's going to happen here. I think he just goes too heavy over the curb and just damages something on the underside of the car. So we'll just have to cycle this one through to see if anything else happens, because I didn't quite spot it on my particular view through Curva Grande. Down towards the second chicane. Let's see. There's a little bit of grass touching there further ahead, but I think this is where he goes very hard over the curb there, and then I think it has further issues coming in towards the first lap. Yeah, it could be a slowdown penalty, in fact. So that is going to be the solution to the problem that we were facing, trying to figure that one out. It took a while, but he had later issues then coming down through the first Lesmo. So that is not the ideal start to the event there for David Haynes, Stephen.
No, not at all. That's not a mistake you want to make this early on. I almost wonder with him hitting the curb like that, if maybe he messed up the alignment as well.
Yeah, it could definitely be. I don't think that car is entirely healthy. Looking back, though, we do have the battle further back in your GT3 machines, because we're actually riding on board with Laurent Cantor right now. He's currently trying to sort of just track down this front 3 right now, as they'll all close down under the brakes in towards turn number 1. We've got a 45-minute event here today and one scheduled stop, as always, in the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship here on iRacing. Almost 6/10 of a second is the gap between P number 3 and P number 4 in your GT3 field, but that's very close between Coffard and Ringrose up in towards the Ascari chicane. This is battle for P number 4 and 5 out there on circuit. Whoa, that's a moment and a half for Alex Coffard over the sort of exit of the Ascari chicane there. That is a ruined rear end to that prototype as well. Replay will be up on your screen right now as we'll get that one going, as you'll see him come through the Ascari chicane over the anti-cut curb. That's why they call it an anti-cut curb. Oh my words, Stephen, that is perhaps one of the most spectacular launches I've seen off a curb before.
Yeah, well, good thing he had the big wing on there to keep the rear end down.
Yeah, I mean, if you flip that car upside down, it basically becomes an airplane. So it's good that it's that orientation over the curb. But Alex Coffard, he has a quite major damage to the rear end of that car right now, the rear diffuser, where a good amount of downforce on these Daytona prototypes are generated, so he's not going to be feeling very comfortable at all for the rest of this race. But battle for P number 11, P number 12, P number 13 in your GTE field. That's Patrick Hirsch just trying to make his way through on a couple of cars there, and actually that's Azaredo right at the front of that train in that lime green Ford GT. On board though with Patrick Hirsch as they head their way through Curva Grande. One of the most important things you can do at this track is not lose track of the draft. You can use it for fuel saving, you can just use it to pull yourself all the way around the circuit. Running as a single car in clear air here is not the best of ideas, Stephen.
No, I mean, it's like that just about any high-speed circuit, especially with these cars. If you get out of the draft, you're just going to fall behind.
Very much so. Through Lesmo 2 then, Patrick Hirsch still tries to track down a couple of drivers that are sitting directly ahead of him. but it looks like that everyone's just taking it calm at this early stage, just sort of focusing on those fuel numbers, focusing on consolidating their position, or their track position right now. We didn't have any major incidents to speak of coming down in towards turn
Tim
number
Classens
1.
is off.
Tim Classens, that is your race leader in GT3.
Oh, and there's another wreck.
Oh, there has been. Let's just have a quick look at this one. Tim Classens is through the first and second Lesmos. Let's have a look up on your screen right now. He'll come through the first one. The car just looking a little bit unstable on the exit, over the curb, over the little bit of a bump there in the grass, out of control completely, off into the gravel. Managed to avoid the walls as he's managed to get himself going and rejoining the racetrack. And in the background, you can see another Audi taking his trip through the gravel trap. I have to get the name of that particular driver. That is Dennis Neidhart, who has basically copied your GT3 leader in more spectacular fashion. You have to argue, heavy impact with that inside Armco barrier, sending him into the gravel trap, and that's going to be pretty much his race done.
Yeah, I mean, Dennis got really hard on the brakes, got a little bit onto the grass, and around that Audi went. I mean, really nothing he could do, although big applaud for not taking out the cars in front.
Yeah, very much so. They were very well done of keeping it off the walls as well, but the battle that we're looking at for P number 1 in GTEs, Antihola has just been sort of teasing this move over the past couple of laps, but I think he's just more concerned about getting his fuel mileage correctly, just sitting behind Lando Norris there. Go on.
Yeah, Lando Norris just locked it up going into the chicane, so I wonder if the pressure is getting to him.
Oh, James King. James King through to the race lead in your prototype field. Now, Kim Salverson, what has happened to him? He's gone wide coming through the second Lesmo, out into the gravel, doesn't hit anything, thankfully. We'll have to wait a good couple of moments for this one to happen, since it is halfway through the lap here. But Salverson having to drop back in towards P number 2 now, and he does have a decent amount of damage to his front clip. I can't imagine where he had actually picked that one up, but we'll see this run all the way through right now as they come up towards Curva Grande.
Well,
it was a pretty big trip.
Oh, go ahead. Just watching, I mean, they're getting really up on the curbs, and I wouldn't be surprised if Salverson just got a little too tight on one, but I mean, that front end damage is not going to do him any favors.
Yeah, very much not so. We'll see it. There we go. Up towards the first Lesmo. Gets through there just fine. It's the second one that is the big problem for the car ahead. Overcooked it into the corner. Actually caught a little bit of the grass on entry. Has to push wide. And there is your change for your overall race lead. James King for Team Bushfink Racing up at the front of the field, and there he stands as well, still at the front, as there's a little bit of congestion further back in your GTE field. There's Sergio Egancio there involved with a couple of other cars. You've got Thibaut Kazubon that we're riding on board with right now, and he gets a good, very good run coming through the second Lesmo here. Will he actually even decide to go for this move up in towards Ascari? He looks to the inside, but Egancio saying, nope, that's my line, coming through that corner, side by side under the bridge. They will go up towards the Ascari chicane, then Egancio a little bit later on the brakes, able to carry much more entry speed as he will solidify his position ahead of Kazubon, but Kazubon looking very, very aggressive at this stage.
Oh, and you see him there flashing the lights, so he is not giving this one up.
Not going to give up.
There he goes again.
Down towards the inside for the Curva Parabolica, drags the brakes in, gets up over the curb. Oh, he just slots himself ahead. What a move there from Thibaut Kazubon, judged to perfection through the Curva Parabolica. Just parks his car right on the front bumper of Egancio, coming through the middle of the corner. No harm in that at all, but here comes the draft now. Teemu Vati in the Porsche looking to get himself involved on these two Fords ahead of him. Egancio looking for the outside, then up down in towards the first chicane, and he doesn't manage to make it stick, but this has stacked up everyone behind because Teemu Vati and Josh Thompson are looking to get stuck in.
Connery, we just got a battle for the lead here in GTE. Norris made a big mistake getting into the chicane there, and Hola is just running right up on him.
Yeah, and I think this is, as I've already mentioned, this is basically the game plan for the driver of the number 2 Vendaval Sim Racing car right now. He's just going to sit behind. He's going to do this in the pit stops, no problem. It doesn't look like he has the pace over Lando Norris. He's just being kept in this position thanks to the draft. He did get out qualified. He did finish P2 in qualifying, of course, with Lando Norris taking pole position. But a little bit of a battle we just had in GT3s, though. Dennis Neidhart, who had that rather major earlier incident, struggling to hold positions against the more clean cars further back through the field. You can see his rear wing. Oh, there we go. That is a little bit worse than I thought it was going to be. Oh no, Dennis Neidhart also taking out another AMG Mercedes further back in your GT3 field. But returning back to the live pictures then, in GTEs, it is still Lando Norris leading the way from Ahola. We've got Silvestri P3, Thibaut Casabon P4 with Gancio P5, and Casabon, he's managed to get himself up into this position quite comfortably right now, but he has been challenged from behind on occasion. Gancio has been pretty aggressive. Vati has been sitting sort of in this seat right at the back of this train, or towards the back of this train, just waiting for something to happen with these front two cars. But here comes Gancio then down in towards the first chicane, has half a look towards the outside, but Casabon was just drifting towards that right-hand side of the track and just not leaving lane on the outside, and, well, having to force Gancio to maybe have a look down the inside at an incredibly tight angle if he wants to make the move. So, good bit of defensive driving there from Casabon.
Oh, definitely. Casabon was just really having to play both offense and defense. And now he's just able to be ahead a little bit, but now he's just 100% on defense.
Yep, he is, because Silvestri has managed to get himself a breakaway out the front of this train for, the last of the podium positions in your GTE field, excuse me, as I always get mixed up between GT3s and GTDs. They just sound so similar in my particular dialect. But
yeah, that last character tends to be important.
Of course, but battle for the race lead, your overall race lead though, this is the Daytona Prototype class. Kim Salverson, after his earlier moments, shall we say, that car isn't looking too sluggish despite the front clip damage, so he might even be able to challenge for the race lead if things fall his way. But no, he's just going to sit behind down in towards the Rettifili chicane just for now, and then just decide to maybe fight another day. Go on.
I'm really thinking here, Connor, Salveston might be just trying to stick in the draft because it minimizes the impact of that front aero damage, and then when he gets in the pit lane, he's going to get that nose fixed, and that way he can really try to capture the lead at that point.
He can very much try to do so, but we'll see how that works out. There's a car off ahead of them.
GT3 off.
Yep, that's Carlos Cabnella Suarez, driver of the number 28, who has had major issues and major impact with that tyre barrier. He was running sort of back end of the mid-pack in GT3s, and he was just got so loose over that second curve. He's not the first driver to have issues coming over that second curve there.
No, but I mean, it was really great to see him, despite everything, just kind of wait and let everybody get by and look for a clean place to rejoin the field.
Yeah, that's one of the most important points. If you've had an incident somewhere out there on circuit, then you've got to have your, what we call in iRacing, your F3 box up. You have the relative timings there. You can see how many seconds off the car behind is, so then you can judge whether you can rejoin the track safely or you'll have to wait for them to pass. But in GTEs, though, further back, you've got the cars of what is going to be sort of in the back here. We're going to have Gancio and of course Josh Thompson at the back. There's the very lime green car of going to be Thibaut Casabon, second in line in that second pack.
I'm just looking here, Connery. Casabon's got to be careful. He's already up to 10 incidents. I mean, if he gets too many more, it might put him in bigger problems.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because as in pretty much every single iRacing official series, you do have an instant limit, and this one is going to be 17, and if you're correct, Stephen, then Casabon's going to be on 10 of those already, so he doesn't have much room for error when it comes to not getting disqualified at the end of this race, so he does have to be pretty careful in terms of that one. Monza isn't the worst track in terms of the off tracks. That accolade definitely has to go to Spa-Francorchamps, where you just breathe on the exit of the corner, you get a 1x, but here at Monza, not so much, as here we go. There's Timo Vati looking for the move, potentially, down in towards the Rettifili chicane, but he's simply not able to make it. Josh Thompson getting himself pretty comfortable in the top 10 overall and firmly inside of the top 6 in terms of your GTE standings as well. So he's going pretty well in that GTE field. But in terms of GT3s, because we haven't really given them all that much love, it's Joao Oliveira at the front of the field. 1.4 seconds is the gap, and well, that time it didn't extend. It in fact contracted by about 1.5 tenths of a second back to CM Skinner. But CM Skinner, he's basically out of contention in terms of the draft here, so he needs a pretty good pit stop to bring himself back inside of that drafting zone, and then maybe he can challenge for the race lead by the time the end of this race arrives. But I get the feeling right now, Stephen, that this first stint is basically just the prelude. It's the setup for the final dash.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we've seen here, Connery. It's always been the first half is the setup. The pit stops moving forward is always the execution on what determines what happens as they come across the line for the final time.
And we'll just have to look forward to that final dash, but Patrick Hirsch, Calvin Freudrin, number 12 and 13 respectively in GTE, looking very, very close indeed. Carlos Alvarez-Bendy looking for P number 14 as well, as he gets pretty close to the car ahead. That's going to be Joel Guez, but not close enough to challenge just yet coming off of the Parabolica, but he can get that mega slipstream coming down the front straight. He can get it side by side, potentially down in towards the reticular chicane, or he's just going to stick in the sort of fuel-saving mode. But there is a move being made ahead, though. Calvin Freudrin down the inside of Patrick Hirsch. Hirsch starts to slow up, checks up Joel Guez, checks up Bendy, and also Mark Fector also getting some of it as well. And that is the danger when you're so slow coming through that section. You just check everyone up behind you.
Yeah, and I mean, you really kind of pray a little bit behind you that everybody behind you is able to slow down and not get into you.
It does require some very good awareness from cars behind whenever that sort of situation happens, but they will continue on their way, coming up towards the first Lesmo. But in terms of the situation now, it's as I've already discussed, it is all about the fuel saving, at least in this first stint, to get yourself the fastest stop possible, because you do not take tires in these GTEs, because you can't take the tires and the fuel at the same time, and taking tires in the 45-minute event doesn't really make all that much sense. But with the regulation changes the FIA have made for the GTE field for next season now, it's going to be changed back. Excuse me, I'm going to get that the right way around. GTEs and GTEs, you can take fuel and tires at the same time for this set of regulations in 2018. For 2019, they're going to revert to the old 2017 regulations, which is going to be you can't take tires and fuel at the same time, which opens up some more strategy options. You have to argue that, Stephen.
It can. Always there's a lot of mixed feelings on whether you can do them both at the same time or alternating. I think the alternating puts a greater emphasis on, do we pit for both or do we just take one or the other? You have to be a little smarter, I think, when you have the split strategy or the alternating between the fuel and tires.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, if the iRacing GT World Championship goes to GTEs for next season, and then the FIA and then therefore iRacing changed the rules back to not being able to fuel and tires at the same time, I think that would make the series much more interesting in terms of the strategies that can play out, because otherwise we'd pretty much be seeing every hour on the hour just take fuel and tires, which isn't really all that imaginative. So I am very much in support of the change back to the old regulations. But speaking of GTEs, that's where most of the close battles are all happening out there on track right now. We'd still have that battle, or I kind of struggle to call it battle at the moment, because there's opportunities being given to Antiola, and he's just simply not taking them. And in fact, he's actually dropped off the back quite considerably here, off of Lando Norris as well. So that's an absolute shame for Antiola, but hopefully for his race that he has saved enough fuel behind Lando Norris that he can bring himself back into contention once those first set of scheduled stops get done.
Well, and then there's the other piece. I was just looking. Norris has also racked up 10 incident points. So him and Kazabaum have got double digits already, and we're just about halfway through the race.
Of course, we are relying on JRT for our incident point trackers since we can't exactly see them in the session. So take it a little bit with a grain of salt. But Kazubon getting very close in towards the Redfield chicane, and as the theme of this race continues, he's not going to decide to go for the move. He gets very close indeed, coming through the second apex though, but again further on not able to challenge, and the same is going to be the case for the battles throughout your field right now, especially the train for P number 12 overall. And back Casey Kerwin, you got Hugo Preto, Esredo and Martins potentially looking to get themselves a scrap, but right now as we're riding on board with Thibaut Kazubon, it's kind of frustrating when the races sort of get into this situation, as we actually do have the battle on track. Well, car number 10 versus the number 12, Kerwin versus Preto. They make contact, in fact, coming up through the second chicane. We'll have to get the replay up on screen for you right now, because we were on the board as there's been further incident there as coming through the second last one. So we'll have to run this one all the way through. There's going to be Hugo Preto looking to the inside and basically
that was
crowds Kerwin out the track, and then there's a shove on the exit of the corner. We'll have to stick with this one because there was further contact coming through the second Lesmo, as we see Kerwin there battling, and he just gets spun off the corner there. Cars having to scatter all across the racetrack. And just about when I was about to complain that this race was boring, all of a sudden
had a Ford GT just go around.
We have had a Ford GT. Number and name, please, because I didn't quite see that one.
That was Calvin
on my screen as well. Calvin Feudant. Yeah,
the number 23, yes.
Number 23, he's had an issue coming up in towards the Ascari chicane with Andre Martin. So all of a sudden, because the point I was going to make was like, it's frustrating when this race gets into this situation where everyone's just lapping and saving the fuel. All of a sudden, over a course of a lap, we've had so many instances. We saw Feudant just basically get launched into space there, coming through the Ascari chicane. That is... oh my god, that is a pretty huge instant there. You had contact with Martins on that inside. Spins, and then the car behind just has absolutely nowhere to go. Patrick Hirsch, heavy front end damage as a result of that instant, and through absolutely no fault of his own as well. He can't do anything. He just simply can't do anything.
Yeah, he had absolutely nowhere to go, and that's the worst place to be. It's the worst feeling too.
It is, and it just feel like it's just completely out of your hands. Just like, it's just that's what will be sometimes in racing, and it is a cruel mistress on very many occasions. So you just have to take that one on the chin and have a look to get yourself back in form for the next race.
Looking at this battle here, we got with Silvestri, Kazubon, and Garso. I probably said that wrong. Still learning names. But if they're smart, they're going to, I would say it'd be wise those three to stay together in the draft and reel in Ahola, because he's out there up front, but he's got no draft to help him out. They could really use that to their advantage to make this a four-way battle for second.
Yep, they really could. Norris doesn't have a draft, neither does Antiahola, neither does Silvestri, so Kazubon is the car that's furthest up the field that can really do some late on in this first stint fuel saving to get themselves ahead. We've had a couple of GT3s though come down towards the lane. That's Yabin Wang that's currently heading his way off in the number 25 machine, qualified quite near the back of that GT3 field. He'll actually fly out pretty much in the middle of this, sort of on the back, of this GTE train right now. So the GTEs don't have to worry about that car as lap traffic as it stands. But we've got just under 20 minutes remaining here in this one, and we've only had the single car or two head their way in. We've had Laurent Cantor not head his way in. We've had Michael Evdoka and Casey Kerwin though decide to head their way in, and the latter definitely because of damage. But let's see how he does in the rest of this race. But battle for 14 overall, Fletcher versus Hugo Preto. That could be one that we'll be concerned about as they head their way in towards the Della Roger. Fletcher trying to defend in that 4GT, Preto on the offense in that Ferrari as they'll track them down towards the first Lesmo. We've got Carlos Bendy that's also on the back of this train, could have something to say in terms of how this one pans out. But Preto, he's already been involved in an instance so far this race. That one was the one with Kerwin coming through the Della Roger chicane. So he's going to be pretty high on the instant points as well. You can see his best lap and his last lap there on the bottom left of your screen. A 1:45.1 best lap for Hugo Prieto, 1:46.9 though on the last lap, so not quite on the pace that he is able to do is Hugo Prieto. Maybe there's a little bit of damage to the sides of that Ferrari that's putting a little bit of a damper on his pace right now, as he will just sit in the slipstream of the Ford. And of course the Ferrari, not really the best car for this track. The Fords definitely have the advantage in terms of their straight line speed performance, but still it's not so much that the Ferraris are uncompetitive.
No, I mean, a lot of it this season.
GTE pits though. Sorry to cut you off there. The GTE machines have headed their way down. The same with the GT3s, excuse me, as there seems to be a mishmash of cars all down on towards the lane right now. We see Lando Norris coming off of the lane. Antiola has actually decided to go at least one more lap here, so that is the amount of fuel that you can save here in these cars. Gancio going to be heading his way off as well with Josh Thompson. We've got Tom Mederol there in the AMG Mercedes GT3. We've got Azaredo heading his way off the lane as well, and they're going to come off the lane in pretty clear air as well. No one to be concerned about coming down that pit straight to see a huge amount of cars coming off of the lane right now. But all eyes are basically for the race lead in GTEs at least going to turn to Antiola. How much fuel has he saved? How short can he make his pit stop when he comes in?
Yeah, well, I mean, the longer you stay out, the less fuel you have to take to make it to the end, so that does help. But, I mean, the big thing here is make sure he doesn't overshoot the lane, because if he does that, he's going to lose whatever advantage he had going in.
There are your prototype leaders heading their way off. James King still with the advantage over Kim Salverson as they'll file their way out.
We'll see if Salverson gets that nose fixed with him down on the lane.
No, it takes too long. Well, at least on my screen, he has got it fixed, but he had a huge issue coming down in towards the rectifield chicane that time. But the thing is, Antiola, this is the big story in this race, coming down in, going one more lap than the vast majority of the GTE machines. Let's see how short that his stop is. Lando Norris at 13.5 seconds stationary on the lane. What's Antiola's time going to be? Because Lando Norris, he's currently heading his way through the second actually through the curve of Parabolica right now. That's how close that he is. Antiola has just got his stop done. That's going to be a 13-second stop, so I think Norris might just get this one done on the pit straight. He does by quite a comfortable margin. You see there as Antiola heads his way off the lane. So that is the gap that Ahola just has to work with, and to make things worse, he's filed out behind a GT3 machine as well. So this is going to be a long, hard-fought battle back for Antiola. So let's just see if he's able to do that with his Vendeville Ford GT.
Well, it looks like the birdie's going to let him by.
Yeah, looks like that's going to be done through the Curva Grande. You see that Ford GT on the inside line there, but that gap is looking rather large between P number 1 and P number 2 in a GTE. So Lando Norris going to be still leading the way in that one. But in terms of your prototype battle, that one might just be spreading out as well, because James King has gone himself ahead, because Kim Salverson has on the previous lap got himself a slowdown penalty coming through the rectifield chicane, so that's going to put him back a couple of seconds in that one. As you see the rest of the standings there in your prototype division, with Joseph Fringer as P number 3, David Haynes going to be one lap down there with Alex Coffard and Joseph Satchel. And Satchel, unfortunately, going to be a retiree from this race. But the standings in GTE look like this. We've got Lando Norris leading by 3.3 seconds over Antiola, with Sergio Agancio and Timo Vati bringing things down to P number 4. Josh Thompson 5th, Azaredo 6th, Casabon 7th, and Andre Martins in P number 8 there. But there's still going to be battles for the end of the race. So here we go. GT3s, Joao Oliveira, 3.5 seconds. Behind is going to be CM Skinner with Cantor and Baumgart, bringing things down to P number 4 with 15 seconds behind. Wallstrom, Yabin Wang, Alexis Diaz, and Bertrand Fournier bringing it to your top three, as we have had another pitter. We've had David Haynes come off the lane. We're having changes for position, though, further back in your GTE field. Joel Guez having to challenge on the inside, coming through the Curva Parabolica. That's Mark Fletcher trying to make his way around the outside here. And I think Bendy, the car up front of this train, is going to still be under threat when it comes towards the Retifilio chicane, since the concern about fuel mileage is starting to not become a factor, since we are in the second stint of this race. Around the outside, Guez will have to try in towards the Retifilio, has to file back in line, as they're absolutely nose to tail here in this GTE train in the mid-pack. It's absolutely fantastic to see. I think this is where the fireworks are going to be launched.
Well, I mean, we've seen the mid-pack and GTE give us quite the battle in the second half of the race before, and I think we're going to see more of it today.
Very much so. Into the Della Roggia they will go then. There's a little bit of dust on the exit of the corner from the cars, running wide into the gravel on the exit of the corner.
They've been doing that all day. I'm surprised there's any gravel left.
Yeah, exactly. We did have, when early on when the dynamic track was released, they did have a sort of issue, shall we say, with the dust being brought back onto the circuit and basically making a beach on the racetrack. That was pretty funny to see, but we have got that all sorted here on the iRacing service, as Joel Guez looks for the move then up in towards the Ascari chicane over Carlos Oliveira's Bendy. Bendy will have to try to defend around the outside, but it's so difficult to do coming through the Ascari chicane. He's lost all momentum through the corner, and as a result, there's going to be Mark Fletcher. There's Evdoka looking for the move over Fletcher, then down towards the Curva Parabolica. Evdoka will have the draft on the outside line on driver's left-hand side here, and in that Ferrari, he needs all the help he can get in terms of the straight line. Deep on the brakes towards the outside line, but there Mark Fletcher has so much grip on that inside. He can defend position there, as Hugo Preto on the back of this train looking to get himself involved as well, but this battle is not done as they head their way through towards the pit straight now. Evdoka right on the back of Fletcher, steps out of line, looks for the move around the outside at the Retifilio chicane, and again gets the help of the drop, but can he complete the move? This time he goes so deep on the brakes, touches the outside grass, and he spins towards the inside, but the battle will continue between Fletcher and Preto. Fletcher will come out on top, but Evdoka, I think that was a little bit too greedy on the brakes, just tapped the outside grass there on the entry to the corner, and that's just going to completely upset your car as you try to get your nose in. Yeah,
we got it, the replay right here on the screen. Man, oh man, they're just going side by side. Yeah, it looks like he just went. He locked it up a bit, and that's where it went
that's
wrong.
A real lock. I believe that's a real lock. There wasn't a touching of the outside grass there. That was just a complete catastrophic sort of entry oversteer as a result of locking the rear brakes. That is not something that we're used to seeing, but it does happen. But Josh Thompson, Teemu Vati right now, they're going to be the ones taking the battle in GTEs right now, as Josh Thompson right on the back of Vati for P number 4. Up in towards the Parabolica they will go. They have a bit of lap traffic to be concerned about. That's Fournier with that heavy front end damage to his AMG Mercedes GT3s. He'll step out of line and get these GTE cars by him rather quickly, I would have thought. Interesting. Is Vati fuel saving? That is going to be the issue you have to be concerned about, as Josh Thompson will look down the middle between his own competitor and the lap traffic as well. Becomes the outside line for the Retifilio chicane. And inside line again for the second part as well. He's juked him on the exit of the corner, but he's still not able to complete the move. Vati's just going to get himself ahead right now, but I think that Vati in that Porsche is in catastrophic fuel saving mode, because here comes Josh Thompson back of the inside of Curva Grande. Vati does not have the engine power to use because of his fuel issues. Down in towards the Della Roggia they will go. Thompson, does he squeak his way ahead? Almost contact off the corner, but finally Thompson makes his way through.
Oh man, was that a battle.
I guess that's the only reaction you can have to that. Well, the battle there between these two drivers, and Vati, I think he's in a much better position now in terms of his fuel, because he is sitting in the draft of the Ford GT. He can, if he was worried about even getting to the end of the race here, this is the best time to do it now and get yourself behind another driver, because you can just lift and coast.
Yeah, and I mean, the nice thing about Vati is, like, he's been we haven't talked about him a whole lot this race, but he's quietly moved up. I mean, he was 6th place earlier. He's moved up to 4th. He is the highest sitting Porsche on the field right now.
Yeah, he is. And looking to get a pretty good finish in the inferior machinery, or so it seems here in the GTE class. But we've had Joseph Ringrose have the pretty major incident over the past lap or so, because he's, oh my words, I've just spotted it. That is, okay, we're going to have to get a replay for this one. Joseph Ringrose coming out of Ascari is going to be, you can see the aftermath there. I think that's pretty much all that needs to be said, but coming through Ascari, I think there's going to be a car ahead that's going to be spun in the middle of the racetrack, and he does have to avoid him. It was Marcus Baumgart that has the instant ahead, back across the circuit. Don't move when you're on. Oh no, that is a huge instant. He got launched by Magnus Wallström there as well, and that is the cardinal sin when you've had an instant and you're in the middle of the track. Better move is to not move and be a stationary target instead of a moving one.
Yeah, I mean, geez, you saw Ringrose, he moved to the outside just trying to avoid contact, and the GT3 just moved right into him. Although they'll probably have to replace that catch fence.
Yeah, they probably will have to, as Ringrose sits there for a good while, just you know, contemplating what exactly has happened to him. But we will return to the way you want your day to end. No, it's not. It's, you know, inside of the catch fence. It's, you know, you just have to sit there sometimes and think, what's gone wrong in my life to find myself in this position? But there we go. We'll see a replay again.
Man.
That is scary. You know, I mean, this is the point where we're lucky that we can call this sim racing, because if that was an instant in real life, then we wouldn't be joking about it. Let's just put it that way. You can see it again. Tries to hit the brakes, locks up, only one direction you're going to go in, and then a very, very scary instant. And thankfully, every instant in sim racing, everyone comes out okay. So we have that to be thankful for, even.
Yeah, unless you got a direct drive wheel and you don't let go of it, that can be kind of nasty. Also, I would not want to be in that car if I was in a VR headset. That would just be sickening.
Yeah, have you had any of those IndyCar death spins while in VR? That must be
I haven't.
Sickening. But yeah, maybe some of the IndyCar VR drivers can chime in with their experiences in that one. But looking back to the battles out there on track, Josh Thompson versus Varty is still going to be going on, and that pass got negotiated a couple of laps ago because Varty did have to use a very, very heavy fuel-saving fuel nap. Because down the straights he wasn't faster than the damaged GT3s. That's how much he was trying to fuel save coming down the straights. But his situation is going to be a little bit better as he's able to fuel save behind that Ford GT ahead of him. And then if he has the fuel to spare at the end of the race, maybe he can look to get the position back as well.
He might. I mean, there's so many variables that we've seen take place in this series. I mean, it's really hard to say yes or no.
Yeah, and Joseph Ringrose coming up in our chat right there, nothing you can do, and I have to agree. There's not a lot you can do when a car is rolling back across the circuit and not holding the brakes like you should do. It's hard to see, and it ruins so many innocent drivers' races, but you know, as I said before, in a couple of instances already so far this race, that those things do happen. Racing is racing. Some people have lapses in judgment. You know, it's all part of the sport. Either in the real world or on the esports side of things as well. So it's just one that we do have to deal with as coming up in towards 5 minutes and a half remaining in this race right now. The closest battle that we can talk about is that Josh Thompson versus Varty battle, but you've also got Kazubon versus Silvestri further back in number 7-8 for GTE. You've got Joel Guez and Carlos Bendy as well, who are pretty close out there on circuit. Casey Koo and Lucas Kriz as well. Could be a thing right at the end of this event, but right now with 5 minutes remaining, this is pretty much go time if you do see a car ahead of you that you can potentially overtake.
Yeah, I mean, so much of the grid is spread out. I think what we're really going to depend here is on who makes a mistake. And we've seen it happen, get a little too aggressive on the curves. We've seen it in rounds before. I think that's really where we're going to see the make or break.
It is, as this race does start to draw itself to a close. At the front of the GTE field, Lando Norris still leading by... The gap has come down a little bit. It's 3.2 seconds as opposed to 3.3, but that simply isn't enough for Antiola to be able to challenge at the end of the race against your P number 3 in the GTE class as well. James King will be leading prototypes with Kim Salverson, P number 2. They're actually the only two Prototype's on the leading lap right now, which is very, very interesting. But we have had a swap for position further back on.
The one thing that was interesting, though, in the second half is remember we were talking about whether or not Silverstone is going to be able to catch King once he get the nose fixed.
Number 15.
Oh, whoa!
Number 15 has gone around Lucas Chris. He did manage to make the pass coming through the Della Roger chicane, but then Casey Kirwan looks for the inside, coming through the first Lesmo. And just the slightest of contacts there spins Lucas Chris around. We'll see it on the replays. Both of them go heavy over the second curve of the Della Roger. That was one of the curbs that has spelled major trouble for drivers throughout this event. And then,
it's almost like Chris
so
just
close.
Came down too much.
I don't know. We'll have to get another look at this one because I am definitely not sure on which way to call that one. Side by side down in towards the first Lesmo. Yeah, and we're going to be able to skip by the trees here as Hugo tries to find a pretty good angle to watch this one from. And I think you would be correct there that the car on the outside came down a little bit.
Yeah, because, I mean, even though he's got the nose, I mean, you've got the car behind is already at the axle, so he's got presentation. And, yeah, just a little bit of contact there right there at the apex.
Thing is, I'd more call that racing incident, to be honest, because the margins are just so slim. That one just could have gone either way in that particular battle. So I'm going to call it racing incident. You may see it differently. The viewers may see it differently. But we'll have the positions gained up on your screen right now. And someone who's had a quiet but very, very fruitful race will be Yabin Wang, P number 4 there in your GT3 field. Started very near the back of the grid in that field. He's just steadily worked his way up, getting himself in pretty good positions. Had no hassle with the pit stop either, and now he's been number 4, 10 positions gained. Fantastic race.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with that. And, I mean, you look at his car, it doesn't have a scratch on it.
Yeah, he's just kept it clean, kept it consistent. That's sometimes all that you have to do in a race such as this to get yourself quite far up that finishing order. Oh, as hopefully I'm not giving the kiss of the commentator to him right now. That would be a very, very unfortunate thing to have happen in that situation. But riding on board with Team Uvati right now in that Porsche. He's getting close and he's staying there and thereabouts. And I think if he's going to make a move here, it's going to be in the final 1 or 2 laps because of his fuel issues.
Yeah, it'll have to be. But he is within striking distance. He's one of the few in the top 5 that are within striking distance. So we'll see. I think if he can pressure Thompson into getting on a curve too aggressive, he'll have the door he needs to make the pass.
Exactly, because part of racecraft is actually not just, diving it down the inside, trying to battle side by side. It's also the pressure that you have to put on the car ahead of you. Just by the fact of you being there can scare drivers ahead into making a mistake. And if you're consistent yourself, then that is an even bigger concern for the car in front, that they can see that you're consistently gaining, you're consistently there. As in GTEs, further back in GTEs.
I might have spoken a little too soon. Kazbom's caught back up to Zerdo, and Silvestri is right there behind. So we got a 3-way battle here.
Here we go. We're going to have a fight here at the end of the race. Thankfully, here at Monza, Kazubon sitting in the slipstream up towards the Ascari chicane as Redo will have to be defensive. Coming up into here, he is. Gestures toward the inside, comes back towards the outside. That one's going to be a little bit naughty in the braking zone. I don't think the FIA would be happy about that one, but through the Ascari chicane that they will go. Kazubon will just have to wait a little bit longer to get himself his position advanced up into the top 6 here, but he's going to sit in slipstream down towards the curve of Parabolica. Does he look towards the inside? No, he's going to bide his time. Goes deep on the brakes anyway, trying to close the gap as he follows him very, very closely, coming through the Parabolica on the exit, taking that very characteristic wide line through here in the slipstream lane as the timer will hit 0. We're going to have 1 lap to go here as Kazubon, driver's right-hand side, inside line for the Rettifilio. The absolute overspeed as well. He might even get this one before he gets onto the brakes, unless Azredo can go so deep into here. They hit the brakes at the same time. Kazubon able to drag his way in. Silvestri looks for the move and it completely fails down in towards the Rettifilio chicane as Azredo tries to get himself back up and going, almost runs into Andre Martins and Kim Salverson as he does take the recovery road, but that is pretty much going to be it in terms of the battles out there on circuit. It is the final lap of the race, although Joel Guez Azredo might potentially be a thing, depending on how much damage Azredo has and if he can get back on pace after his incident. But a instant into the first chicane then on the final lap of this event. We will pretty much close out the season here on RaceSpot TV Friday primetime on the iRacing Esports Network. It's going to be James King then. Comfortable race all the way through, starting P number 2, getting the pass over Kim Salverson to bring it in towards P number 1, and then a pretty clean race from that point forward. He had his own couple of issues running wide here and there, of course, but it's one corner to go for James King, and he can say that he's won overall here in the final round of the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship. One braking zone, one apex that he's going to miss. Exit of the corner, and he's going to be the race winner for prototypes here in the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship. It's going to be James King for Team Bushfink Racing across the line. Fantastic result for him, but we're going to look further back, see which is the next leader that's going to head his way across the line. I have the feeling that it's going to be Joao Oliveira, but he's got a little bit of time before he's able to do so. Azredo and Guez, they were very close coming across the line, but Azredo manages to hold on after his incident that he had coming into the first chicane on that final lap. But right now, as the battles will simmer down, the racing will finish up here at Monza. We've got the car of Joao Oliveira, very quiet race at the front of the GTE field. Not really challenged all that much from behind in this one. The driver of the number 14 will be thankful for a very clean race and a fantastic race for him as well. Up and towards the Curva Parabolica he will go. For the final time this season, you will see a GT3 race leader come across the line with the checkered flag out. It's going to be Joao Oliveira taking the race win in GT3s. Fantastic result for the driver of the number 14. And then we've got to look back, because coming through the Curva Parabolica, it's the one, it's the only. It's going to be Lando Norris coming towards the line. An early challenge from Antiola, but Ola made mistakes, and Lando Norris, consistent as ever, across the line, takes the checkered flag and the race win in a very competitive GTE field as well. He'll get it stopped coming towards the end of the pit lane, and perhaps we'll see a couple of donuts from Lando Norris. But here are your official race results for the week number 12, the final race in the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship. James King taking the prototype race wing from Kim Salverson. David Haynes, P number 3, one lap down. Alex Coffard, P number 4, with Joseph Ringrose, P number 5. That's all of your starters in your Daytona prototypes. And in GTEs, Lando Norris, McLaren F1 driver, gets himself the race win, 3.2 seconds over Antiola. Antiola not able to challenge in that second stint, despite being close and stalking throughout the first. Sergio Agancio, P number 3. Josh Thompson getting himself P number 4 as well as he works his way through the field. Timo Vati inside the top 5 in that Porsche, the only non-Ford inside of that top 5. Absolutely fantastic result for the Finnish driver. Thibaut Kazabon has to finish P number 6 with Vincenzo Silvestri and Andre Martins there. P number 8, the only other non-Ford in your top 10. Renan Azredo and Joel Guez will round out that top 10. And then as we get things cycled back, Carlos Spendi there, one lap down, P number 11. Mark Fletcher, P12. Hugo Preto, P number 13. Casey Kirwan, P number 14, with issues. That is still a decent finish. Lucas Kriz, P number 15. Patrick Hirsch, P number 16. Anthony Cat, 17th. Michael Evdokin, 18th. And Calvin Freudrent, with a very heavily damaged Ford, P number 19. Not going to finish this race, unfortunately. But in GT3s, Joao Oliveira for Iberia, winner in GT3s, with CM Skinner, P number 2, and Laurent Cantor, P number 3. Yabin Wang, fantastic race, getting 10 positions up into P number 4 with Diaz P5. Freudrent will have to finish P number 6 with Phil Bedford, Marcus Baumgart, Tom Mederl, and Carlos Carbonella Suarez, bringing things down to P number 10. And these cars are going to be all sorts of laps down, some retirements as well. Magnus Volstrom involved in that huge incident that we saw with Joseph Ringrose. We see Alex McCain, we did Dennis Neidhart as well, who was also involved in that big incident with Tim Klessens, your pole sitter in GT3s, not finishing, with Soren Koloji there in P number 15. we are not going to have a break here on Race Spot TV. We're going to go straight into the driver interviews here today. And why not get started with your overall race winner, your race winner in prototypes as well, James King for Team Bushring Racing, standing by with Stephen Burbage.
Well, James, you took the finale. Are you excited?
Oh, ecstatic. Honestly, didn't think I'd do too well. But yeah, I'm super happy with how that went.
Yeah, Kim Salveston has definitely been a strong contender we've seen this season. So we didn't get a chance to catch your pass on him during the broadcast. We were so encumbered with GTE. But why don't you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so actually I'll have to watch it if you guys are watching it as well. I'm not sure what it was. I just kept myself in the draft with him, and it was waiting for him to make a mistake, basically. And he got himself a slowdown, I think, coming through the second chicane. That got me right up on him, and then again from there it was just waiting for something to happen.
Well, you definitely was waiting for that something to happen and took advantage of it.
Oh yeah, and it was a shame that the battle ended not long after the pit stops. I don't know what happened to him, but he just kept dropping back, which kind of made it a bit more dull for me towards the end. But yeah, it was a brilliant battle with him, and with David as well at the start as well.
Awesome to hear. Well, before we let you go, any shout-outs or thank yous?
As always, big thanks to everyone at TBR, to Joachim Lundgren for making the beautiful paints that we run, Craig for his help with all the setups, and Fraser, of course, because me and him tend to be the guys who build the DP sets.
Well, thanks for joining us during the Pro Slice interviews, and hopefully we'll see you again next season.
We'll see.
We will definitely see. James King, your race winner overall in the prototypes in the final rounds here of the IMSA Online Sports Car Championship, but we do have a couple of other drivers to have a little bit of a chat to. Why not? Let's get ourselves the P2 finisher in GTE. That one's going to be Antti Ola for Vendaval Sim Racing. Now, Antti, that was a pretty well-run race for you all considered, but did you feel that, especially through that first stint, that the race win was possible over Lando Norris, or do you think that it wasn't going to be?
I think Lando was just playing with me because when he started to pull off, he was like gaining a half a second starting from the second chicane and ending to less mode 2, and I have absolutely zero idea how that is possible, but then again, losing to a future F1 driver, I take no shame in that, but of course it's frustrating from a driver's point of view, just seeing the guy in front of you pulling away.
Yeah, that must be very tough, but then again, you said it yourself, it's a McLaren F1 driver. What are you supposed to do in that situation? But just take us through what your strategy was in that first stint, because we did see you have a couple of opportunities, but you did decide instead to stick behind in the slipstream and try to save the fuel. Was the plan overall just for this race just to get the jump in and stop?
Yeah, exactly. If I could have, or if I managed to stuck around or stuck behind Lando the entire race, the objective would have been just to save enough fuel to jump him on the pits, and then just hopefully have enough pace to keep him behind me after the pit, but that wasn't the case today.
Yeah, it wasn't the case. And since we have drawn the season to a close here, Antti, are there any plans for you sort of next season? And of course, with the addition of J-Night Transitions, any other endurance style events that you're thinking of doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna at least try to qualify for the pro license with Vendaval and a couple of other drivers from Vendaval in the pro qualifiers in the first season. That is the main objective.
Yeah, that is going to be the plan then for Antti Ola. Thank you very much for joining us, Antti from Vendaval Sim Racing, finishing P2 in GTEs, and we have another race winner to talk to, and it's not going to be Lando Norris. I don't think he's going to join us here today. It's going to be Joao Oliveira for GT3s. getting Joao into the box right here. And, well, he's standing by with Steven.
Yeah, that was quite a race. It was a clean one, and it really just allowed you to just kind of stay up front. Why don't you walk us through it a little bit?
We'll have to get the microphone issues sorted there for Joao once he does get it sorted. There we go.
Hi.
Yeah, he's found the unmute button.
Yeah.
There we go. Take it away.
Well,
Yeah.
you were just saying. I'm sorry.
You just kept the car just completely clean and was able to work your way up to the field, take a wonderful victory. Why don't you just walk us through that race for you?
Well, I did a bad quali, so I was supposed to be on the front at the beginning, but I was waiting for some error from the front guy, and he did so. So I was just waiting, saving fuel, saving tires, and I was going in his draft, and we are gaining time for the third. So he make an error, and then I just do a clean race in the front, and that's this.
Well, I mean, sometimes that's all you need is a mistake from the guy in front, and it's definitely benefited you today.
Because here is hard to pass, only make a diving or something like that, and fighting we will lose time for the third, and we are gaining time, so was useful. So I'm just waiting for that, or in the pits, something like that.
Understand. So before we let you go, any shout outs or thank yous?
Yeah, I want to thank my team, Just Print Racing, and my sponsor, JustPrint.pt, and all disabled drivers, because I'm a disabled driver, and is an honor for me to be here finally, and I'm very glad for that. And thanks for the racing, and the broadcasting is always a nice one. So thank you all.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
There we go. Joao Oliveira there, P1 in GT3s. We've got a couple more drivers to very quickly talk to before our time is up here on Racesport TV. And one of those is going to be, let's have a little bit of a pick here. Do we bring Josh Thompson in? I think we do bring Josh Thompson up into the commentary booth. We're going to get a talk to the P4 runner in your GTE class here today. And Josh, that was one competitive, very competitive GTE class.
Yeah, caught me out by surprise, to be honest. But yeah, it was really competitive, a lot harder than I expected it to be.
Exactly, qualifying close, absolutely close throughout the field, and the race was basically dominated by the theme of GTE trains. And how difficult is that sort of situation to manage when you're trying to basically manage your position in a particular draft train and still trying to gain track position as well? How do you go about that?
Yeah, with Monza and GTE, I say qualifying is quite important because everyone has the same mindset. If you can just save that extra lap of fuel, it means a whole difference in the strategy. So I didn't really help myself in messing up qualifying a bit. So I probably could have been 2 or 3 places higher up the grid, which means 2 or 3 less places of work having to do, which would have been beneficial in a way. But obviously, you're having to just work it to your strategy, really. All about the fuel saving and just try and get as much out of the car as possible.
And I do want to talk about something else here because it does seem relevant to sort of your team as a whole. We had a new event announced very, very recently, just today here on the iRacing service. It's going to be the Porsche Sim Racing Summit, competing for €30,000 prize pool. And Josh, I have to ask the question. You going to go for it?
I'll give it a go. I gave the ADAC Porsche a go. Just missed out on that. So, yeah, I'll give it a go. See what happens. I've driven the Porsche a lot more since then, so it should be a bit more competitive. So hopefully I can knock inside the top 10 area.
Any of your other teammates going to give it a shout?
Not too sure. I think there's maybe Marcus and Tommaso, but again, depends. They're really focusing on the LMP and making sure the GT program sorted for Pro Series and the World Championship.
Yeah, some teams will have different focuses. As I did get, it's always sort of disorienting for me to see you in Movano colors. It's just, it's just because I've always said Radicals Online, and I think I did say Radicals Online in the broadcast. So I do have to get used to that one. But how's the new team going?
Yeah, really well. It's completely different to how it was with Radicals. But it's nice to have a change. I think being in Movano, it's pushed me to a new level. I feel like I was getting a bit lazy, just accepting crap results, really, in my opinion.
Ooh,
so here,
spicy.
Nah, it's just me. It was just me, really. So I feel like when you start pushing myself a bit more, the results are definitely showing now, which is quite nice. So putting me in a good mindset and position for Pro Series coming up.
Trading one black and red car for another black and red car, but of course different drivers behind the wheel. But thank you very, very much for joining us here today, Josh.
No worries.
And we wish you luck in everything that you do, especially that Porter event that's going to be coming up here on iRacing. But we do have a couple of other drivers just to quickly talk to. We've got our weekly interview with Mr. David Haynes. Here we go. David Haynes, hello. How's the Australian in you doing?
Sorry, repeat the question.
I was just asking a stupid question. It's fine. But anyway, how was the race?
Pit stop bug.
Ooh. Front clip?
Presumably.
Yes. That sometimes does happen, unfortunately, in the Daytona Prototypes. But up until that point, how was your race going?
I felt really competitive, but just a few tiny mistakes got I think a slowdown penalty on lap 2, and that sort of from that point a win wasn't possible, but it felt like it was before then.
Yeah, definitely possible. James King ended up getting the race win, Kim Salverson running into issues. So the opportunities were there, but unfortunately some things out of your control do happen, and we saw that throughout your prototype field as well, because you had Joseph Ringers getting himself involved in a massive incident that was just completely not his fault. So unfortunately, those things happen. But at the end of the season now, how would you rate your season overall, David?
Maybe a 6 out of 10. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun, but I can't say like I really had any fantastic setups or any races where I was massively quick or maybe close to my full potential. But it's good fun, and I definitely consider it for next season or whatever the future brings.
Yeah, whatever the future Race Sport TV Friday primetime will bring. Will it be Formula Renault 3.5? Will it be Formula 3? Who knows? That is still a question that we're going to have to sort out.
Will it be fixed Ferrari Challenge?
It could be fixed Ferrari Challenge for all I know. Yes, exactly. But I think iRacing would want us to do one of the new series. But anyway, speaking of those new cars, David, are there any of them that take your fancy?
I had a few requests to add the F3 car to the HJ Tsukuba 3-hour, and I said no, but a standalone event like that would be fun. I think Tsukuba and the F3 car would be a really fun combination, lots of corners to chuck it around. But I've been doing an IndyCar league lately, and from that I think the Formula Renault 3.5 is actually going to be pretty fun to drive, because I think around a road course they're a pretty similar performance window, and but slightly more suited to it. So I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be very, very fun indeed with those new additions to the iRacing service. I think this sort of last patch of the year is going to be pretty much one of the biggest ones that we've had, with the whole day-night transitions, the lighting, the new cars as well. That's going to be absolutely brilliant. But thank you very much for joining us once again, David. We've been thankful to be graced with your presence throughout this season, and maybe next season as well. Who knows, depending on which car is picked for that one. But we have one more person waiting in the wings, and it's going to be Joseph Ringrose from VRT. Excuse me, I was about to say VIR, which is some racetrack in America or whatever. But Joseph, your race had a very unfortunate end, shall we say? You found the catch fence. Just take us through it.
Yeah, so coming out of Ascari, I see a GT3. Just spun off the exit, went into the wall. Well, he went into the wall, and don't really know whether he could have helped it, but he was reversing back on track. Maybe that was just sort of moving back and hadn't put his foot on the brake yet, but went for the gap was there at the time. By the time I got there, I got on the brakes sort of 20 meters before I hit him, and nothing really I could do. It's one of those things. I haven't really been in one of those kind of situations before, but I mean, it's a shame because I was in a podium position with David's issues. But yeah, and then got T-boned by another GT3. So again, if I ruined their races, apologies, but I mean, I couldn't really do much from my perspective. And then yeah, ended up in the catch fence.
Yeah, it was a massive, massive moment, and as I said on the broadcast, we were thankful this is just sim racing rather than real life, because that would have been a
really scary one.
That would have been very, very, very scary. But since we do have to wrap up, is there anything you want to say before we let you go, Joseph?
Yeah, quickly, before we end, I'd just like to welcome Timi Vati to VRT, joining the team from today. Came 5th in GT, and we're really looking forward to having him on the team. So that's all really I have to say.
A new addition to the VRT roster then. So that was Joseph Ringrose. Unfortunately, not having the greatest of races, finding the catch fence late on in the race. But that is going to be all that we have time for here on Race Spot TV Friday Prime Time. It is the last Friday Prime Time for this season. We have the break of week 13 when the new patch will drop. But then, start of the first season next year, we're going to have another edition of Race Spot TV Friday Prime Time. Goodbye.